Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Small Business and Entrepreneur Podcast with Harlequin Podcast. I am Cecilia Wickman. I'm your host. And today, I don't want to really tell you what he called himself when I asked what title he would put on himself, but I would like to call him a business owner and entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Tim Goedeke. Is that how you pronounce your
That's right.
last name, or did I slaughter it?
No, it's good. Goedeke.
Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to connect, Cecilia. It's been a long time coming. I'm excited to have the opportunity. For the record, the term I actually used was I don't psychopath or sociopath because I think business owner, entrepreneur, there has to be a little of that somewhere behind the scenes to really be able to survive.
Right. I completely agree to it, but it was just like, I don't wanna call somebody a psychopath really that I've spoken to a couple of minutes prior pressing recording. Not really comfortable with that, but if that's what you I completely agree with what you're saying. So, you responded to one of my ads, earlier back in January, and you were sounding so interesting. You have a history within business. Please tell me about your background.
Yeah, so the reason I responded, I think having been a part of several startups, I've really been all over. I've worked at Fortune fives as the employee. I've been in leadership roles in large organizations, and one of the things that intrigued me about your ad or your request is that I think in the entrepreneurial world, and this especially in the small to medium business space, I think there's such a need for community in order to compete and in order to sometimes just survive. I think whether it's because we're too busy as business owners, just trying to keep the wolves at bay and trying to put out the fires, or whether sometimes we are having some success and we just feel like, well, if I share what I did, other people are going to figure it out. And I don't want to encourage competition. Whatever the reason, I just think oftentimes as small business owners, we don't share information. And when I was consulting and working with lots of different small and medium businesses as a consultant, the thing that always sort of shocked me, and it worked a lot. It wasn't because I was smart at all, but it's just because when you have a portfolio of 60 to 70 consulting customers and you see someone in the construction space who has a problem, but then someone over here who's a coffee roaster has a similar problem with HR or finance or time cards. The value was connecting them and saying, "Hey, coffee guy, construction guy over here has had the same problem 6 months ago, and he implemented a solution. Can I just introduce the two of you? He's got really good coffee. Maybe he can give you a cup of coffee. You guys can figure it out." It amazed me how many times those conversations worked out positively, and then a relationship was built, and the two organizations ended up sharing information back and forth. What we don't realize as small businesses is that the big guys, the Fortune 500s, the guys that have 300 and 500 and thousands of employees, they can just throw money at the problem.
Mhm.
They've got a team of people they can bring in to fix the problem. Um, as a small business
Does not have that.
we don't have that. But I think what we have sometimes is each other, or other business owners who have struggled or had similar problems. And so that's what really drew me to your request. And as we've gotten to know each other a little bit, your the business that you've got there is, I think it's a need. I think sometimes as business owners we've just got to maybe be a little less stubborn or a little more willing to sit and listen. And that's really it. So I've had some good experiences as an entrepreneur. I've had some really bad ones. I think I probably do a better job of sharing my mistakes than my wins, because of, you know I'll say luck. And what I mean by luck is 80 to 90 hours a week of hard work and constantly making mistakes and getting up and moving rocks. Um, but at this point in my career, I'm just as much focused on trying to give back and help other people maybe know what to look out for,
Mhm.
Uh, and it's hard. This, I have a friend who I started to consult with early on, and she has a cupcake company. That's what she does. She makes cupcakes.
Yummy.
Best cupcakes you'll ever eat. Great, fantastic. She can bake a cupcake like you wouldn't believe. Knows nothing about accounting. And as a cupcake company who was doing 70, $80,000 in profit a year, still had a Gmail email address at gmail.com. No website, no web presence.
What?
Yeah. And so she ends up, believe it or not, ended up on the Cooking Network, came and did a feature on her cupcake shop. And so post that
You
experience.
survived.
Yeah. And so I think it's an example, though, of how you can be really good at something and start a business. And
Yeah.
you can be the best darn cupcake baker ever. But there's so much more that goes into filing an LLC, setting up a tax structure, getting accounting in place. And now you've got employees and payroll. And you just had your best day, but now you're out of flour. Oh, did I turn the lights off? Because I also pay the light bill. And that extra $30 for not turning the lights off can really make an impact on my business. And I think a lot of times when people, jump into this all wide-eyed and I'm going to be a millionaire and this is going to be fascinating. I think a lot of people don't maybe account for things that they don't know, and a lot of times they don't have a network to go to. So I guess that's a long answer, but that's really why I was attracted to your post and why I followed up.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely because I've started myself a couple of small businesses, not with the intention to have them large. Always been kind of like a side gig to what I'm doing, but I still find the same struggles over and over again of how to reach out to people and just find that how do I solve that problem? And then you try to go to Facebook or social media, because your friends has no clue, many of them are not business owners or in the field that I'm in, and you don't really know what's scam and what's true.
That's right.
It's a lot of scams, and I can tell you, starting up this podcast and having a Facebook page for the podcast equals me several times a day getting, hey, I can see you're having an Apple podcast, I am a promoter, I can help you. I'm like, yeah, and you live in India or
Yeah.
somewhere far away that I haven't have a name. No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So
No, I understand that because I'm a member on Facebook of a couple of startup entrepreneur promote your own business groups that have thousands and thousands of members,
mhm.
and there's posts, I don't know, 10 to 12 posts a day about if you want to work from home in your pajamas and with your screaming kids and your dog and cat and make a $500,000 a year,
Good luck.
please DM me. Right?
Good luck.
So those happen all the time. Well, I posted on there about a week ago, and one of them I posted a very legitimate opportunity. Like as we scale one of my current companies, we're trying to find cost-effective ways to promote the product, and so we're looking for influencers and people, and we're happy to pay a commission. We're happy to give people the training and all of the tools they need to go promote it. So I put a quick little paragraph summary together that said, legitimate opportunity. It pays US dollars every month, commission structure. Um, you'll have your own URL, your own QR code, your own discount code. We just need people to promote our product and we want to pay them. You know how many responses I got? That's right. That's right. Don't even say a word because I got zero responses to it. And I think you're right. I think it's because it just gets caught up in all of the other spam and all of the other, garbage that sort of floats around, and we become very jaded to it.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, something legit for people to find inspiration of and hear people's success stories as well as failure stories, because success doesn't always come without failures, you know.
That's right.
Um, and get that inspiration and see a face or hear a voice, depending on if you look at YouTube or listen on the podcast. Um, and see that there is legitimacy behind it. It's not just something fake. Uh,
No, I think that's right. One of my biggest failures, but it was a lesson learned. And I will say this before, so any of the businesses that I start, we typically try to self-fund the business as far as we can. And I know not everyone has the ability to do that, and I understand. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to do this. If there was a right or wrong way, I would write a book and it would be a
oh,
bestseller, and everyone could just follow step one, step two, step three, and now you're a millionaire, right?
sweet.
So what works for me may not work for everyone. But I thought it was a great idea. About 12 years ago, I was living in Louisiana, South Louisiana, and me and three buddies, one was a software developer, one was a sales guy, and we were out, having a couple drinks one night, and we got this really crazy idea.
Oh,
People be able to order their groceries online, right? And go pick it up. So let me think of this would have been 2006, 2007. So this was before everybody was doing it, right?
yeah.
And so
COVID.
we go and we buy a domain, www.iwannabuyMyGroceriesOnline.com, because
That
it was
was a long one.
it's the only one we could afford and we thought it would be memorable, right? So we built this software app with our developer friend built this very basic software application. I helped to sort of operationalize it and figure out how the labeling and packaging and everything would work on the fulfillment side. And our business model was that we were going to go to smaller grocery stores. We knew that, like, when Dixie had started trying to develop this, and Albertsons and some other, we knew they were starting to develop it, but nobody really had it. And so our model that we thought was, we'll go to these small grocery stores that can't compete with that, that'll never have an option. And what we want to do, we're going to monetize it by selling ad space. So it won't cost the grocery store anything. We're going to go to the distributor. So this particular grocery store chain was Associated Grocers. And so they're privately owned. Associated Grocers is the bigger, larger buying group, and they have their own brand, a Price Saver brand. And so we thought, we'll give it to the store for free. Everybody's going to go buy their groceries online, but when somebody's shopping for potato chips, we'll flash the ad on the screen for the Price Saver potato chips and a discount, a coupon, right? And then everyone will buy it, and the distributor will be happy and make more money, and the store gets the order and they make more money. And so we built it, and then we were ready to start promoting it. And so we talked to one of the vice presidents with Associated Grocers, and he said, "I like what you're doing, but I'm not the guy to make the decision. You've got to go talk to the store owners, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to train and implement and do all of the things."
Right.
So I drive down, it's in South Louisiana, to a local Associated Grocer who's on the river. And people are fantastic. Those people in South Louisiana are the friendliest people. They will give you the shirt off of their back. So this is not a shot at people from South Louisiana. But I'm talking to Rob, who is the owner, the proprietor of this grocery store. And he's like, "Okay, Tim, I see what you're trying to do, but you have a solution to a problem I don't have."
Oh,
And I said, "Well, how dare you? We
it's
worked really hard on this. This is going to change the world. You're going to miss out on so much money." And I kid you not, like, things work in mysterious ways. At that point, a gentleman pulled up to the grocery store on his riding lawnmower with a beer in his hand. And he gets off, and the proprietor, Rob, calls him by name and says, "Hey, how are you?" And he says, "I'm good. How are you?" And he goes in to do his shopping. And he turned around and looked at me and he said, "Tim, that's my average customer. Do you really think that guy is going to drive his lawnmower home and get on the computer and order his groceries and then come by and pick them up? So maybe in a few years, if I have to catch up, but right now you have a solution to a problem I don't have."
wow.
So it was a very educational experience for me, because I thought, man, we've got this great thing,
And
but as we develop products now and we develop business, I always try to remember that and think, like, am I solving a problem? Am I providing value to somebody? Is it affordable, and does it solve a problem, or is it just a really cool idea that I think is a cool idea?
nobody else thinks it. That cool. In
Yeah.
this case, you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, we were ahead of our time, and again, not to knock Associated Grocers, but another challenge we ran into was a lot of the stores back then still kept their inventory on paper, like clipboards and paper. And so whereas we thought, "Oh, we'll just integrate into their database, we'll keep inventory up to date. Whenever there's not a product available, we'll replace it with a comparable product." Like,
Yeah.
it was very tough to solve the problem of.
That was more of a problem than getting people to order online, it
That's
sounds
right. That's right. So, they're not all successes. In fact, a lot of them are failures. But one of the things I would suggest is that I try to look at things as just the experience on the back end. You have
like.
really, really, really bad experiences, and what can you take from that, so that you don't do it again? And then occasionally you'll have the good experience, and don't get cocky because it's very hard to repeat those. Um, and so just constantly trying to move forward and draw on experiences and learn, because ultimately it doesn't it, every situation is going to be different. And if again, if there were a book about this, we would all be really, really rich. There's not.
Some
So you have to wake up every day and just figure it out.
good luck. But that's a challenge. I guess that's one of the reasons why entrepreneurs becomes entrepreneurs. They want that challenge.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm very, if you couldn't tell, I'm very, have a tendency to be very ADD. And so I thrive in the chaotic, not knowing which fire is going to kill me today. Um, and not knowing what, if I'm going to be, handling a customer service issue or a product fulfillment issue, or if it's a product development issue or a technical issue. I enjoy that. In fact, I would say for me personally, when things get up and stable, I tend to lose interest. Like, that's the harder part for me, is as things stabilize, trying to stay as diligent and focused, um, because it's just, I don't know, it's not as fun. And so I think that one of the things I would say is, in this space, in this business owner entrepreneurial space, one of the things I always look for, me and my friends, my group that I work with, we have dubbed them rock movers. Right. We want to work with rock movers, and everybody knows the guy that's not a rock mover. Although sometimes he or she is hard to spot. But in this entrepreneurial space, again, you have people who come in that are just wide eyed, and they're going to be millionaires, right? They all want to be the Tony Stark, if you're familiar with Marvel movies, right? Everyone wants to be. They want to drive the convertible and be that guy or that woman.
Yeah,
Um,
preferable in a very short amount of time as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
However, very, very few people, I find, and we find, are actually willing to come in every day and move the rocks that it takes and start stacking up the rocks, and whatever that is, right? It's easy to, for some people, it's really easy to pay money to get a really fancy PowerPoint and go sell that.
Mhm.
But we try to look for people whose characteristic is that not only will they get up every day and stack the rocks and move the rocks, but when the rocks get knocked down, they don't run away. They get up the next day and they start stacking them all
Again.
over again. And for us, that's one of the principles when we look at working with companies or bringing on partners. We really look for people that seem to be willing to get up and stack rocks. Not say, "Oh, well, I'm the finance guy on this project. I'm not going to answer the email that has to do with customer service." I mean, if you're a part of the team, we need you to help do whatever needs to be done.
And you said here a couple of sentences ago, the fact that us as small business and entrepreneurs, we keep it to ourselves because we're afraid of the competition. And
Yeah.
how can we, as entrepreneurs, get out of that comfort zone? Because I call it a comfort zone. Yes, I know what I'm doing, and I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing with my business because it might steal my idea or talk bad about me or
Yeah,
whatever.
I think you hit on it. I think it's for different people, it's different things. I think that, look, my background, I came up in technology. Well, I take that back. I started as a teacher and a coach, and then I moved into technology. and I spent a lot of years in technology and in software development and application development. And now the three businesses I work with, one of which I own and founded, are all in the healthcare space, right? Health and wellness. And so I think it's a combination of, number one, not having enough time. Well, I should go talk to this person, but I've got these emails I need to answer. I should go talk to this person, but I needed to watch this video to find out about social media marketing. Like, we always find something else to do. The
Mhm.
second thing is what you said, and I've worked really hard, and my business is living right now. It's making money. I'm not going to have to mortgage my house. I don't want to tell anybody because somebody might copy it and make it better, right? These are my marbles. I've worked really hard for these marbles. I don't want to share my marbles. I see that a lot more in smaller communities, right? In larger communities, I don't see that. But the other thing I will say, you said it, is if I tell somebody, they may think I'm stupid or they may think I'm wrong and they may have a better way of doing it. And then I look really, really silly, and I don't want to look really, really silly.
Instead
Uh,
of then taking their advice and their opinion, maybe not do exactly what they're saying, turning it into something that you could utilize yourself that fits more your business and take their ideas and move on with it.
no, that's exactly right. One of the things I say in a lot of meetings, and I think, Cecilia, I probably said this to you. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, everybody's in a lot of trouble. I will very rarely be the smartest guy in the room. And I throw that out there in the beginning to sort of take everyone off guard and to be willing to say, hey, look, I need everyone's ideas. I'm not, it may hurt my feelings. I'm going to try to hide that. Um,
Suck it up, buttercup.
that's right. That's right. Because at the end of the day, we've just got to find a way to move forward and stack rocks.
Right. It's kind of weird to see. I have a friend of mine who is into racing and woodworking and all that, and he's just right now starting. And it's so fun to see his enthusiasm of doing that. And you were talking about your friend who did cupcakes, but he doesn't know anything about running a business at all. He has no clue. Um, but and he looks at me and he's like, "What am I gonna do about this?" And I give him some tips, and he takes it to him and makes it his own. I was like, "I cannot tell you how to do your woodworking, for goodness sake, and all your
Right.
products you make. I can help you with everything else around when it comes to the business part of it, but don't ask me to do your like, I can tell you if I think it looks good or I don't, you know."
Yeah, I remember the first LLC I ever filed, right? It was so I was, at the time, I was the vice president of a software company, and we were going from a nonprofit to a for-profit. We were restructuring the company. It started out as a services, really a staffing, a nursing company that had an in-house software platform. And as I consulted and was eventually hired on by them, we had a vision to transform that company into a software as a service model with a white gloves nursing add-on as a service, right? Because a software company gets like a 10 to 12 times multiplier when it's acquired. A services company gets like a 2 to 3 times
Yeah.
multiplier. And so the executive board really wanted to find a way to exit. And so we were going through that. Um, Again, psychopath, sociopath, decided that during all of that, I just going to start my own business and work full time as the vice president of technology, going from a nonprofit to a for profit and getting ready to do an IPO. Um,
That is a huge deal.
yes, so there's a lesson there in the value of sleep that we can talk about later.
So, sleep as a small business owner and then work full time, nope.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I didn't know, so I filed this LLC and I built a website and we started training for this medical device company. We started training reps and onboarding reps, and then we got to the end of the year, and where are your quarterly reports? Where did you file your quarterly reports for the company? It's like, what?
What?
What? Well, you're supposed to do a quarterly report, and by the way, you didn't file your franchise taxes.
The what?
The what? In the state of Texas, every year, if you make more than $1.02 million annually, you have to file and pay franchise taxes. If you don't make more than 1 point whatever $1 million annually, there's a process you go through. Literally, just click a few buttons that says, "Hey, I didn't make enough money, and I don't owe anything. Thank you."
But it has to be done, or you will have penalty.
That's right. And I had no idea. So I go from having a good day to, oh no, now the government's after me. I'm going to be shut down. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get sued. I'm going to jail. Uh,
At least.
yeah, until I called a friend who I knew had a couple of startups, and he's like, no, just go to the comptroller's website. Here's the website. You can file it late. It's like an extra $12 penalty. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. I would have Googled and searched for hours.
yeah.
But the 10-minute conversation pointed me in the right direction, got it taken care of. And then, at least for that afternoon, all was right in the world again.
But it's so important to have those people around you to go and ask for advice and ask how, what am I going to do? Help me. Because you can't
Yep.
know everything just because you want to run a small business. There's no way just because you're good at woodworking doesn't make you good at budgeting or financing or whatever. And you don't know exactly how to file whatever.
No, that's right. I think it's the difference between having a hobby and having a business. And I get a lot. So I've had a little bit of success in exiting companies, and in particular one that I started. And so because of that, I get emails every week, every month. Hey, I've got an idea for a company I want to start. What do you think about it? And
Mm.
I would say I try to be very encouraging, but some of them are really, really stupid. Some of them are just
And
like,
I must admit, I was that person just a year ago when I started Harlequin Tea because I didn't know anything about tea at the time.
mhm,
Literally nothing. I knew how to go to the grocery store, buy my tea, put the tea bag in the warm water, and drink my tea, right? And I came up with this idea, long story short, to start my own tea company or may explore the options of doing it.
mhm,
So I'm sitting and Googling, and I come up to this tea sommelier up in Indiana. And I wrote him an email. I said, "Hey, you must think I'm the most stupid weirdo in this world, but I have this idea." And he did not reject me at all.
mhm.
And I told him the same thing. I was like, "I don't know anything about tea. I know I like it because I am allergic to coffee." But instead of just saying, writing me back and saying, "Good luck, uh, this is some channels you can read," he sent me 7 boxes, 7 huge boxes of ingredients of tea. And then we sat for hours on Zoom meetings
Yeah.
for a month, and he taught me everything I needed to know to be able to start up my own company. Without
Yeah.
him, I don't know what I would have done. I
Yep.
I, I didn't know shit literally.
Yeah.
But here I am today, a year down the road, so grateful for all the hours that he didn't even charge me for. He did never charge me for the 7 boxes of huge inventory stuff, but he
Yep.
thought it was so inspiring that somebody just had this idea of, "I want to start from scratch. I don't know things, but I love tea." So he
Yeah.
to
I
think.
think like what an opportunity for you, right? That conversation could have gone a lot of ways,
Oh, yeah.
but you were very blessed that he was just in a charitable mood that day. Maybe that's who he is.
That's who he is. He is
But
that way.
how fantastic is it that you got that opportunity and that education, and what the things you learned, a lot of it will probably follow you beyond your tea
Oh,
business,
yeah.
right? A
Absolutely.
lot of now, one of the things I would say as an entrepreneur, I fight this personally a lot. This is a story from sixth grade me. We were at a fair, a little town fair, right where they have the rides and the games and whatnot. And I there was one of the booths that was playing a game, and it was a baseball game. And so what you would do is you would pay your $5 and you would throw a ball, and it would tell you how fast the ball went. And then you got to throw another ball, and you had to guess your speed, right? And so, and if you got it, then you got a hat, a baseball hat. And I really wanted a baseball hat. So what do you think I did?
Tried?
Nope. I found my friend who was running around who was a baseball pitcher on our team, And I said, well, because he's a pitcher, he's going to be smarter and he's going to be better than me and he's going to know how fast he can throw. I think I gave that kid $20 and I never won a hat.
I'm sorry.
I know. So then I thought what I learned from that was, you know what? In this circumstance, I probably could have gotten just as close
Mhm.
as him and just done it myself. And I still struggle with, we talk about moving rocks. Sometimes you want to go find somebody else. Well, they're going to be smarter at social media than I am. So I'm going to go try that there. And I think there's value in that and finding the right partners to help. But sometimes you just got to take a chance and realize that, you know what, I can figure this out. And if I do figure it out, no one can really take that
Oh, wait.
education away from me. So sorry, kind of an aside, but
Yeah.
I thought, you know, right now with one of my businesses, I'm sort of in that situation where like, do I just do this and risk messing it up? Or do I go find somebody who can do it and then risk them messing it up and it's still messed up? And I paid a lot of money to have somebody else
Right.
do it.
It's
So
easier to blame yourself than somebody else. Take the blame and I
that's right.
screwed it up. It's my money. Then crap, why did I let that out on somebody else and now it's a mess and I'm all out all this money
Yeah.
for
And also cheaper if I
Mhm.
mess it up
Oh,
than
yeah.
paying
Usually because
somebody
you don't
else
have that
to mess
label.
it up.
So tell me about your company here, Zantha Products. What is Zantha Products? Because it was super interesting to me.
Yeah, so it's different. It's not the technology space that I'm used to at all, and I've been really blessed to have had this opportunity and have been very lucky to have some conversations along the way that have really helped out. About, gosh, almost 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, I was consulting. I was doing some technology consulting in South Texas. There was a company down there that was trying to leverage the hydroponic technology that they grow medical cannabis and hemp. They were trying to leverage that to grow hops. Hops is a vine. It's a plant they use to brew beer. They use the hops flower as one of the main ingredients in brewing beer.
Mhm.
And so their business model was there's a shortage of hops. Like there's only two or three states in the U.S. that have the climate to grow hops.
Mhm.
They're all in the Pacific Northwest, like Washington, Oregon, maybe Idaho up there. Those are the main producers. And if your name isn't Anheuser Busch or Coors, it's very hard to get fresh hops. So what most microbreweries, and if you've noticed in the last 5 or 6 years, there are microbreweries popping up everywhere.
Oh, everywhere.
So what a lot of microbreweries have to use is these pellets. They take whatever's left of the hops crop and they crush it up and dry it and press it into pellets. And these microbreweries a lot of times use pellets. And so this company was trying to had a really interesting business model where they were going to use small greenhouses or small indoor grow operations
Mhm.
um, and locate strategically around where several microbreweries have exploded. Eventually, they wanted to package it up and do it in like a shipping container, modified shipping container, so that each brewery could grow their own hops using LED and hydroponic technology. So I was in there consulting with that group, and I met a gentleman who every time I talked to him, he was kind of like your crazy uncle in the room. He was like, "Hops are great, yeah, the beer, but there's a medical application for hops. It's been researched. Nobody's ever done anything with it. There's an extract from this hops plant." Like, okay, whatever. I'm consulting on the technology side. I'm not worried about that. Well, over the course of time, the company decided to shift. The Farm Bill was passed in Texas, and the company decided to shift into chasing hemp. They
Okay.
had a lot of the technology to grow. They had a lot of the relationships. So they decided to shift into the hemp space. That became their number one focus. And at that point, I decided to go a different direction. I continued to consult, and I don't know, several months later, I thought, you know what? Let's look into this hops thing. Let's see if they're really. So I started looking at a lot of the research, and sure enough, there's a lot of research. I talked to a friend of mine back in Louisiana, who was a compounding pharmacy, and I said, hey, can we use your space for a weekend to try and make some product? And so we ordered everything, we self-funded it, we made a little bit of product, and literally for the first 6 months, we gave it away to friends and family with the disclosure that, hey, if your arms or legs fall off from using this, it's not our fault. But if it helps, please let us know, right? And
Don't sue
so what we were looking at is that this compound has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties, and so inflammation is a huge cause of a lot of problems in the human condition. I mean, digestion issues, acne, like inflammation in different areas in the body causes us a lot of problems as humans. And so we compounded it topically into a unique formulation, started giving it away, and the feedback was, I mean, really, really encouraging. We'll just say that. I have a notebook of stories from people who, I was putting it on my knee and my hands also stopped hurting because it was on my hands from applying it to my knee. So we did that, and after we knew, we really weren't going to kill anyone or harm anyone, we decided to build a website and start selling it. And so we did that. In the meantime, where I say one of the points where we were really blessed is that I got a phone call a couple of years ago from a gentleman who said, "Hi, is this Tim Goedeke?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "I'd like to learn a little bit more about your product." I said, "Well, I would like to learn a little bit more about your name and who you are first, right? Because I'm still very paranoid that somebody's going to rip me off and copy what I've done. Don't want to share any information." And so he says, "Well, you don't know me, but this is my name, and I was an executive for Sam's Club. And if you don't know Sam's Club, it's part of the Walmart, the Walton family franchise. It's their purchasing club." He said, "I was really high up in Sam's for several years, and I did product selection there, and now I'm retired." I said, "Okay." He said, I have partners. One of them was basically my equivalent, but on the Walmart side. And then our other partner was over all of wellness at Walmart. And we all live in Bentonville and we're retired. And he said, the craziest thing happened. Let's see. So now what we do, this is him still talking, we look for unique opportunities for products that we can promote using our relationships with these large retail chains. And he said, I see probably 100 products a month. And he said, it's crazy because somebody left 3 bottles of your product on our conference room table. And so I'm getting ready for a conference call and my elbow always hurts. I have really bad tennis elbow. Elbow always hurts. It's hurt for a year. He said, so I looked at it and I put it on my elbow and then went about my business. He said, and about 9 o'clock that night, my elbow started hurting again.
Ooh.
Said, I didn't even realize that it had stopped hurting, but for about 6 hours, my elbow stopped hurting. It's like, so I went back the next morning, and the first thing I did when I got to work is I went in the office to the conference room table, and none of the bottles were there. So first of all, how can I get a bottle? Second of all, can you tell me a little bit about this product and why I haven't heard anything about it? And so that those gentlemen are now on my board of directors. They're fantastic because you talk about a wealth of knowledge from the retail space. These guys will forget more in a day about retail and opportunities than I could learn in a lifetime. And they've been so helpful in helping to advise and guide and leverage relationships. And so we are at a point with that organization now where we're actively selling product. We have product on the market, mostly through direct to consumer through our website right now.
And we will post that in the blog post. So go to Harlequin Podcast and find
Okay. Yeah. We have those products. They're extremely effective. We've again right now, last month's numbers were right around 72% of the people who buy a product from us
it. Mhm.
purchase a second product within 90 days.
Nice.
Yeah, so three out of every 4, which means not everyone uses it every day. Some people, we have a lot of gentlemen that play golf and they only use it on their lower back when they're going to play golf, or
Right.
people who do yoga who only use it before and after yoga. Some people use it every day on their knees and they buy a bottle a month. But over 90 days, about 3 out of every 4 people purchase a second unit from us. So where we are with that company now is we really, our vision is to go from being an unknown to being a household name in the next 9 months to a year.
And I am, as I said to you before, I am going to brag and say I had the owner on my podcast a year
Well,
ago.
it's going to take a lot of rocks. A lot of rocks are going to have to be stacked and restacked to get there, but we're committed to the cause.
Absolutely, and that was where I'm gonna ask my next question. How are you gonna get there? What challenges are you anticipating with that goal?
Yeah, I mean, our biggest challenge right now is that we can continue to sell the product and build our customer base, word of mouth and a little bit of social media advertising here and there. We can go from 20,000 a month to 30,000 a month. We can get to the point probably over 4 or 5 years where we might get to, $1 million in sales that way. And that's going to require us to reinvest everything back into the company and
Mhm.
take no dividends and not really take any pay. But there's two challenges. At some point, somebody who isn't funding it themselves out of their own savings and retirement is going to come in with a few $1 million in R&D budget. Maybe that's a Johnson and Johnson. Maybe that's five-star nutraceuticals. I don't know, but
Yeah,
somebody will find it and they'll take the time to figure it out and reverse engineer it, and then we're not the only company in the US or the world anymore that uses this compound. Now there's competition. Uh,
right.
and so that's one challenge that we're going to have. Now we do, as we structured the company, we have been lucky to get some exclusivities in place with raw material providers and things of that nature that I think will help us there. But the other thing it's going to be the challenge is, and where we are now is that next month, or this month, I'm sorry, it's February 5th. This month, we're going to go out and actively start raising uh, capital to go spend on advertising. We manufacture the product in our facility now, and it's a CGMP accredited facility. It's safe. Everything is good. But we know our capacity there isn't going to satisfy some of the opportunities we have.
Mhm.
And so it's at a point where we have proven that the car drives down the road, right? We built a prototype of the car. We know that it drives. We know that it gets where it needs to go. We have commercial manufacturing relationships in place. We have distribution relationships and warehousing solutions in place when we're ready to scale. But the biggest thing for us is if we really want to grow at the pace that we hope we can, we have to go be on everyone's phone. We have to be in radio. We have to be in TV, and we have to do that quickly. You've probably heard of things like green coffee.
Mhm.
You know, 5 6 years ago, nobody knew what green coffee was, and now, oh, green coffee. There's things like acai berry that pop up.
All the time.
Yeah,
Eh,
ashwagandha. These things. The good news for us is that we have a product that really works, and so we're excited. At its core, it still solves a problem, which is one of the things we always look at. Does it solve a problem, or do we have a solution to a problem that doesn't exist? About 20% of the U.S. population suffers with some type of chronic pain. So if it works for 1 in every 5 people that have pain, and 3 out of every 4 of those purchase a second product, I feel like we have a pretty good value proposition.
Absolutely.
So yeah, our challenges are just speed to market and growing through advertising and there's some opportunities to bring on some celebrities to do endorsement. So that's all the stuff that we're working through right now. In the meantime, I can still continue to run this just like we are, and it'll still be profitable. And for the next little bit of time, we'll make a little bit of money. But the real challenge is going from being an unknown to a household name in the next 9 months to a year.
That's a big challenge. I look forward to in a year checking up on you and see how what happened. How did it go? Because it's exciting, I think.
Yeah, there are a lot of lessons learned, and even if it doesn't, one of the things and I can't state this enough. In addition to the rock moving concept, we really try the group that I work with. We really try to fund things ourselves where we can, and the reason is I'm so hesitant to. I have been so hesitant to bring out outside funding for two reasons. Number one is I don't want to waste anyone else's money, right? They worked hard for their money, even if they're a family office or an investment firm. So we try to de-risk the opportunity as much as possible by learning as much as we can ahead of time. Um, and the other reason is that once you take on investment money, you lose a little bit of control over
Right,
the company. So we have a pipeline of 6 other products that we have developed and tested, but we've never really released to the public. And so we have those ready to go. Who's to say that an investor doesn't come in and say, you have to launch all of those right now, day one, if you want my money.
right.
Our plan, we think they're good products. We just don't know where the market's going to take us right now, right? There's a lot of oral supplements out there. Can we compete in that market? What we know about the pain product, about the anti-inflammatory, I know that if you come in and your elbow hurts and you put it on your elbow will stop hurting.
Yeah,
And that's the easiest, I think, simplest sale value proposition we have. If I take a supplement for a month, do I feel better? Do I not feel better? Was it my diet? Did I exercise more? Was it just sunny and I was outside more? Who knows? But right now, I know if your ankle hurts and you smear some of this stuff on your ankle's gonna not hurt.
I'm interested. I really wanna try it on my hip because I work EMS on my paid job, and that is kind of straining to your body,
Mhm.
lifting constantly, and my hip is suffering a little bit from that job for the last couple of years. So I'm gonna go to your website and buy me something for my hip and try it myself. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, before you do it, let me know. I'll shoot you over a code. You can save a little
Oh,
save a
yeah.
little money on it.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So, my next question is social media. We were talking about it before, how we don't know really what is good and what is just spam and scam. How has social media helped you or not helped you to grow? Has it been anything beneficial for you, and what channels has been useful for you?
Yeah, I think it's been beneficial, not necessarily from the standpoint of we spend ad money and we sell product.
Mhm.
That's what everybody wants. Right? That's the unicorn that everybody's going after. And there's not a single marketing agency out there that will tell you they're not good. Everybody claims to be the best. Everybody's got the next algorithm. Everyone's got the next AI tool to help. But I will tell you what social media has really helped us with is it is a great way to understand different customer bases.
Mhm.
It's a great way to learn who your potential customers, how they look at your product and how they evaluate it. And I'll give you an example of that is that, early on we thought this is it's a plant-based product. It's natural. It's not addictive. There's not a ton of like toxic chemicals, no parabens, no dyes, nothing like that. It's natural. This is going to fit well with all of the natural homeopathic. It's going to be so awesome. And so we did some targeted advertising through Instagram and Facebook at those specific groups, right? And the sales cycle was so long, and not to offend anyone, but the number of questions we had to ask and answer to
Yeah.
they're like, well, are you when you harvest the hops, are you replacing it responsibly? Are you uh, yeah,
Wow.
what does your carbon footprint look like for this product? Are you um,
Jesus.
are there animal proteins? Is this a vegan product or is it just a natural product? And so literally our customer service and questions and our time went through the roof and
Wow.
it's like, you know what? If you want to stop freaking hurting, just buy the product. And we started to target a little bit older, aging demographic, thinking, well, it'll be great for people with arthritis, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Older people, aging people, people who have chronic pain. This will be great. And what we found there is that most people are, if they're on Medicare or they're just on a set regimen, their stuff shows up, they have to pay for it, or they know exactly what it costs every month. They're on a fixed income, and they don't really want to mess with that a whole lot because what they have is what their doctor told them, and if their doctor said it, it must be true, and it's very friendly with their fixed income. Now,
Right.
what we did find is that active middle-aged people who are working either manual labor or who are heavily involved. They're the Sunday morning quarterback. They're the guy who's playing the golf scramble on the weekend, or the lady who's playing the golf scramble on the weekend. They're doing yoga, and they just want to not hurt,
Yeah.
right? I got a really cool story from a guy who said, my wife's been using your product, and I kind of thought it was hocus pocus, and I had to go play in a 3-man golf scramble for my company. And this was a big deal for me because I got paired with some of our most strategic clients, and
Oh,
I didn't want to be embarrassed, and I'm a golfer, but my ankle hurt so bad because I stepped off of the curve wrong 3 days before. And so I'm complaining to my wife, how am I going to do this? And so she told me, just try it. Just try it.
worth it. It can't be worse than it already is, right?
I said, so we get to the opening, we get to the clubhouse that morning, and I'm, putting it on, and our client says, oh, what is that? It's like, oh, it's some crazy stuff my wife's got me trying. My ankle hurts and I'm trying. And he said, well, do you mind if I try it? He's like, so now, Tim, I'm on the hook for you and my client. He said, we get to the driving range before the scramble kicked off. We hit a few balls. My ankle felt better. But my client used it on his lower back and said, man, we're about to get to the back 9 and my back hasn't tightened up yet. This stuff's great. Where can I get it?
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, it was a really cool story to hear somebody using it and it actually helping. Those are the stories we never get tired of, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so using social media really helped us understand how different demographics, how different, so what we learned from that is the easiest sale is just those go-getters who are active and they don't want to hurt and they don't care, right? And they're willing to spend a little bit of money to go get a different product because it works and they just don't care.
Yeah.
So like it's hard in social media because of all of the noise you get from other ads and other products and how that works. It's hard to be, I think personally, and I just might not be smart enough to have figured it out, but it's hard to say, well, I'm going to spend $1 on social media advertising and I'm going to make $2.
Right.
That's challenging, but what we where we did get a lot of value in the social media was just learning more about our customer base without having to go out and physically talk to 6,000 people.
Yeah. Absolutely. You reach a lot of people in a short amount of time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you are a man full of ideas, full of knowledge. Let's say we have somebody here who hasn't. You're shaking your head. Yes, you're a consultant. You are. You're a good listener. We have a person here who wants to start their own business, not saying what specific area. What would be your best advice for somebody who wants to start their own business, regardless of in what industry? I put
That's a
you on
good.
the
That's a good.
spot now, didn't I?
Run away. No, I think the first question that, and I do get a lot of people that will come to me and say, I've got a business idea.
Mhm.
Before you look at like filing an LLC, before you look at getting all the biggest thing is understanding what problem you solve or what value you bring the marketplace,
Yeah.
and and who that serves, right? And if you have a problem, I mean, if you have a solution to a problem, and a lot of people can benefit from your solution, can those people afford your solution,
Right.
right? That's one of the things we learned from this is having a topical pain product that works is great, but when we first started making, we were selling it at $75 an ounce.
Mhm.
No, nobody can afford that.
No.
Now we're down on $20, which is a whole lot more affordable for
Yeah.
people, right? So there, I would say there are a lot of really good ideas out there, and there are a lot of solutions to problems out there. They're just not affordable because the sort of alignment we look for, I look for is, does it solve a problem, and can you tell that right story to the people who can afford it?
Yeah.
And if you can do that, I think you've got a really good start. Then it becomes about, how do we package it up? How do we structure it? What are we doing? Is it scalable? That all comes later. But the first thing I would say is, what is your value proposition? What solution? How are you going to make the world better with your product? And do the people who need it, can they afford it?
Yeah. That's a very good advice. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else you would like to add? I can't remove anything. Well, I can, but anything you would like to add before we close this episode?
No, it's been great. This is one of the first podcasts I've been opened up and done. I do a lot of talking locally here where I live. I would just, what you're trying to do is fantastic. It's much needed in the small business community. I would encourage people to, if they have questions or, challenges or problems, don't just get up and walk away. Always control how much you spend. It's what I hate to hear are the stories where people have, I emptied my savings account and I spent $75,000 on this. I've invested everything into it and I lost it all.
Yeah.
I would suggest, well, was there a way that you could have spent
No.
$5,000 and got to the same place, or maybe $25,000 and gotten halfway down the road and figured out that you were going to lose $75,000? But that doesn't mean you should be scared of trying it.
Right.
Um, and so I would just say what you're doing is special. It's not something that people are trying to put together. I think it's needed. Um, not that I'm great, but if anyone has any questions or ever wants to reach out, I'm pretty easy to find. Um,
And we
and
will post everything about your company and contact information to you in the blog post. So just go to harlequinpodcast.com and
yeah,
you can find it there.
perfect.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's been a great time. And I hope y'all have had a really great time. Check us out on social media. And if not, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody.